Good morning, it's Thursday, the 19th day of June 2025, and well, it's a few minutes past 10 o'clock. That means trading has opened for the day on the floor of the Nigerian exchange in Lagos, Abuja, and at the Onitsha exchange. And of course, the business day has long begun in Onitsha main market, even at Area market, Nnewi, in Port Harcourt, Asaba, Abakaliki, Owerri, look wherever you are. Good morning to you. My name is Nnamdi Obaya, and you're welcome to the Afia Business Morning. Morning, we are taking flight as inaugural flights landing at Boeing. Is aviation viable in the region? Plus, all the business news from around the region, and of course, trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange open for today. Exchange in London opened an hour ago. New York yet to open. China exchange open at 2 a.m. local time. Of course, we'll be looking at how the markets closed yesterday on opening bell, as well as news around the region on the Eastern Business Report. The NGX ended yesterday on a high, and it's more gains in London with mixed readings in China and the US. Plus, is Nigeria ready to make money in space? Stay tuned to find out. Opening bell starts right now. This is opening bell on the Afia Business Morning. The Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on a high yesterday, and it's more gains in London with mixed fortunes in the US and China. We'll be looking at how the markets ended as well as our commodities report. But first, let's take some news stories, beginning with news from the currency market, where we learned that the Naira slid against the US dollar in the official foreign exchange market, settling at 1,545 Naira and 26 kobo from 1,544 Naira and 62 kobo at the previous close, as it has enjoyed some unusual level of stability in recent weeks, supported by CBN FX interventions. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria showed that the dollar was quoted at an intraday low of 151 Naira and a high of 1,547 Naira and 90 kobo per dollar, with analysts speculating that Nigeria's foreign exchange landscape is expected to be turbulent through the second half of 2025. The projection is anchored on weakening oil receipts and persistent pressure on external reserves, with crude expected to trade between $60 and $65 per barrel, well below the budget benchmark of $75 per barrel, and with the latest data from the CBN platform settling at $37.823 billion on Monday. Straight to the securities market, and the federal government of Nigeria, through the Debt Management Office, has offered for subscription green bonds valued at 50 billion naira at 1,000 naira per unit. This was contained in a statement by the DMO on Tuesday in Abuja, which also further disclosed that it's a 5-year green bond offer due in 2030 at interest rates of between 18.75% and 19.25% per annum. The DMO also stated that the green bond qualified as securities in which trustees could invest under the Trustees Investment Act, meaning that it qualifies as government securities within the meaning of the Company Income Tax Act and Personal Income Tax Act for tax exemption for pension fund, among others. The opening date is June 16, closing date the 18th, and settlement date the 23rd. And on to the financial sector, where the Central Bank of Nigeria has introduced time-bound measures for some banks still completing their transactions from the temporary regulatory support provided in response to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to a statement issued by the CBN's Acting Director of Corporate Communications Department, Mrs. Hakama Sidi Ali, in which it was also disclosed that this is part of the Apex Bank's ongoing efforts to strengthen the banking system. Sidi Ali also said that the step was part of the CBN's broader sequence strategy to implement the recapitalization program announced in 2023, and that the CBN would continue to take necessary actions to safeguard the sector's stability and ensure a robust, resilient financial ecosystem that supports sustainable economic growth. Okay, let's dive straight onto the floors of our featured exchanges, starting on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the NGX All-Share Index yesterday closed on a high, rising by 1.63%, a gain of 1,876.71 points, to close at 116,786.87 points. A total of 640,082,716 shares, valued at 26,011,805,157 naira and 97 kobo, were traded across 19,727 deals with equity capitalization of 73,689,143,149 naira and 10 kobo. The biggest gainer of the day was NEM, which rose by 10%, while other top gainers were Better Glass, Seplat, Thomas Y, and Lancashire. On the other hand, Eternal topped the losers list with a decline of 10%, while other losers were NSL Tech, Legend Inc, FTN Cocoa, and Guinea Insurance. Straight to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, where it's almost all rises in index values across board. The NYC Composite is up by 0.25%, US 100 Index up by 0.06%, Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 0.22%, S&P 500 up by 0.27%, NYC FANG and TM Index down by 0.13%. It's the only one that went down. Tech stocks, Nasdaq Composite up by 0.25%, and the Nasdaq 100 up by 0.13%. And onto the floor of the London Stock Exchange, and this time it's all rises. FTSE 100 up by 0.11%, the FTSE 250 up by 0.25%, the FTSE 350 up by 0.12%, and the FTSE All-Share Index is up by 0.12%. Now moving on to China, onto the floor of the Shenzhen Exchange, and it's still all rises there. The Shenzhen Component Index is up by 0.24%, SZSE Composite up by 0.03%, and the Chinex is up by 0.23%. Staying in China, but this time on the floor of the Shanghai Exchange, and it's a mix of dips and rises. The SSE Composite Index is up by 0.04%, SSE 50 down by 0.15%, Star 50 Index up by 0.53%, SSE 180 down marginally by 0.01%, and the SSE 380 down by 0.1%, and the CSI 300 is up by 0.12%. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at our commodity prices as well as our consumer price watch in the market, and we'll also be is Nigeria ready from outer space? Opening bell. We'll be right back. I'm Nnamdi Obaya, and you're welcome back to Opening Bell on the Afia Business Morning, showing on Afia TV, channel 254, DSTV 17, Go TV, and of course 748 on Free TV, live from Coast City. Now it's time to check out our commodity with our precious metals, and it's a downward movement for gold. Gold is down by 0.66%, trading at $3,366.47 per troy ounce. Palladium down by 0.65%. Platinum is up by 3.77%. However, silver is down by 1.8%, trading at $6.61 per troy ounce. Energy prices down. Natural gas is up by 3.76%. Coal is down by 0.34%. Brent crude is down by 0.21%, still trading above $75 Nigeria budget benchmark trading at $76.29 per barrel. We've crossed the 300-day mark. No action for 11 months on burning light crude, the OPEC index for Nigeria. Not the only one, also the same thing for Angola's girasol. But Brass River is up by 3.15%. It's trading at $78.22 per barrel. Kwa Ibo also up by 3.15%. It's trading at $78.27 per barrel. Industrial metal prices, aluminum is up by 0.02%. Lead is up by 2.07%. Copper is down by 1.68%. Nickel up by 0.02%. Zinc down by 0.8%. And tin is down as well by 0.66%. All right, let's take a look at our commodity prices, but now we're in the market. Still enjoying drops in prices of some food and some essentials and some fuel prices. Inflation has abated. We're hoping for more drop in inflation rates next month. And it's good. So it's for now, it's good news to some prices, even though there's still some consistency. A price of the bag of rice, 50 kg of rice in Enugu, still going for about 94,000 naira on the average. Some places 100,000, some places 90, averaging about 94,000. If you have 94, you will get a bag of rice. A bit cheaper in places like Aba, as low as 84,000. Lagos can get as low as just under 60,000, though averaging about 65,000. Abuja averaging about 70, though you could as well get around 60,000 in Abuja. Of course, the 4-liter basin, or one pint as it's called, with about 10,000 naira, even though Enugu substantially higher. Beans, Enugu, one bag going for 65,000 naira, but it's the same in most places in Nigeria. For the honey beans, 65,000 naira everywhere, about 6,000 naira for the 4-liter basin. Lagos marginally cheaper. Gari prices between 80 and 90,000. Places like Enugu, again on the higher end of it. Of course, Enugu ranked as the most expensive place to live in Nigeria, according to inflation numbers. The 4-liter basin going for an average of 3.5, though in some places it has dropped to about 2,005, coming down from as high as 5,000 naira. Prices of yams still remaining stable between 4,000 and 6,000 naira, depending on where you're buying it. Of course, again, Enugu on the higher end of it. For plantain, bunches going for between 8,000 and 12,000 naira, though if you move to some places, it does get as high as 15,000 to 20,000 naira. But again, proximity to agrarian areas can help your prices really go down. Of course, cost of transport, insecurity in the farms, things contributing to the increase in the price of plantains. Cooking oil prices, palm oil 5 liters still going for about 10,000 naira, and Lagos higher than the national average. 25 liters going for about 50,000, and Lagos again higher than the national average. Groundnut oil prices going for between 15,000 to 18,000. Places like Enugu and Lagos higher end of those prices. Also the same for the 25 liters, which goes about 40,000 naira, but Lagos, Enugu, substantially more expensive. And the same can be said for vegetable oil prices, almost mirroring each other. And of course, for vegetable oil, Lagos and Enugu also more expensive. Moving on to fuel prices, still some stability there, still waiting Dangote lorries to supply products around the country very soon. So we're hoping that once Dangote is also controlling the transportation arm of his business, the logistics, prices might come down again, and less prices might be put on the gantry price, which might reduce the prices at the pump further, because of course the NNPC will always respond to Dangote prices. But prices going from between 900 to 930 naira in the southeast. Lagos between 875, 900. Most pumps in Enugu you will get at 910 or 900. So more stations likely to sell at the lower end of the average. 930, 950 prices you see when you're out on the open express going between states. Diesel prices between 1,150, 1,250, 1,300 in the southeast. Lagos, Abuja as low as 992 naira for a litre of diesel. Kerosene prices between 1,000 and 1,150 most places in the country. Cooking gas going for between 1,160, 1,200 in Enugu, going for about between 1,100, 1,200 in places like Lagos. So cooking gas also enjoying a drop in price. Of course, we'll have a special report on the Eastern Business Report later. You don't want to miss that. But we'll take one final break. And when we come back, Nigerian government believes we can make billions from outer space. Do they know something we don't? Find out when Opening Bell returns. You're still on to the Afia Business Morning, and you're welcome back to Opening Bell on channel 254 on DSTV, and of course 17 on GoTV and 748 on Free TV. I am Namdi Obaya, also telling you we're streaming live on Afia Business on YouTube, so you want to watch that as well. Now, Nigeria has decided to leave all the resources around us and have decided we want to make money from space. How and why do we want to achieve that? And let's get into it. My beloved country, Nigeria, has everything it needs to be a successful and wealthy nation. From agriculture to mining to oil and gas to skilled professionals, Nigeria has the potential to be a top country in the world. But we are still a poor nation. Why? Because we have failed to utilize the resources we have at our disposal and allow the resources to be exploited by local and foreign interests who know what to do with it without any benefit to the people of the country. We have not been able to max gains from agriculture, solid minerals, which we have a whole lot of, from precious metals. Even the crude oil we shout about has not been properly exploited. So what's the plan now? Well, we want to make money in outer space. And no, I'm not joking. Recently, Chief Uche Naji, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, spoke at the opening of a 3-day second edition of the African Space Economic Conference and Exhibition in Abuja, and on behalf of the federal government, tasked other African countries and the business community within the continent to explore opportunities that abound in the space ecosystem. Now, the theme of the conference is Space Economy and Emerging Markets in Africa. And in all fairness, the opportunities he's talking about are not far-fetched and are not things that, are Elon Musk-level inventions, but opportunities based on available technology. At the conference, which was hosted by the National Space Research and Development Agency in collaboration with the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Chief Naji said that the space economy had evolved from an elite scientific frontier into a catalyst for global progress, driving climate change monitoring, disasters, improving agriculture, and strengthening national security. In summary, Africa must invest in talent, foster innovation, and adopt bold policies. And to quote him, these technologies are transforming lives and driving economic growth across the world. Africa has a critical role in the transformation, and by embracing space technologies, we can enhance weather forecasting, resource management, healthcare delivery, digital connectivity, delivering real benefits to communities across the continent. To achieve this collaboration is essential because no single nation can unlock the full potential of space economy alone. He also said that we must strengthen public-private partnerships, international alliances, and regional cooperation to share knowledge, develop infrastructure, and collective capacity. And I have no problem with this. Then at the same event, Chief Emeka Obegolu, president of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, said that the Nigerian space ecosystem had the capacity to contribute about $1 billion to the gross domestic product by the late 2020s. Bear in mind, we're already in the mid-2020s. But it's not impossible. I mean, there are services like communication, data, and security that Nigeria can provide to other African countries if we have satellites. And, there's someone who agrees with me on this. Dr. Matthew Adepoju, the Director General of NASRDA, said the space economy is about the commercialization of space, transforming research findings and innovations into market-ready products and services. He also said it included development of satellite launch vehicles, Earth observation tools, and space-based applications that drove different sectors of the economy, and added that NASDRA was engaging new business models to support sustainable space sector growth, like their ground station as a service that allows satellite operators to access the ground station infrastructure without massive capital investments. Now, Chief Obegulu, ACCI president, added that space-based technologies were already improving agricultural productivity, enhancing national security and disaster response, expanding broadband penetration and capacity building, and that the ACCI is championing the mobilization of investments into space tech enterprises, supporting research and development, innovation, and digital infrastructure development. He also stated that the private sector would be seen contributing $700 to $800 million of that contribution. Now, as much as I know the concepts, and the thinking, and the fact that Nigeria has practical uses like security, agriculture, and communication, as well as a clear path to revenue, I cannot help but wonder if we're not putting the cart before the horse. There are so many basic things we've not done before we start venturing into space. This is the analogy of a man who, rather than buy a little food every day to manage his funds, decides to throw a big party one day because many people will be fed that day, forgetting that there's tomorrow. Can we fix things on the ground first? Do we have capacity to run these programs? Or are we going to have to hire foreign experts who will take their earnings back to their countries? Dr. Kiari Mohammed, representative of Dr. Ahmed Hamdi, Executive Director of African Union of Scientific Technical Research Commission, noted that Africa should collaborate for digital infrastructure connectivity and youth engagement in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, of course, STEM subjects. He argues that capacity is a big issue, but it's not just human capacity. There's also the fact that we do not produce any of the parts, we do not have research and development on any meaningful scale, and if we pump all this money into space, what happens to the immediate problems? Now, I appreciate the national security and other implications, but I also know that we can utilize funds differently right now. Let us plant our feet well on the ground before we try to reach for the stars. And I'll leave it at that. We'll go on a quick break as opening bell is done, but the business morning continues. Don't forget that opening bell will return tomorrow when the exchange is reopened for trading. You can also watch episodes of the Obaya monologue on our YouTube page. Go to Afia TV on YouTube and enjoy. When we come back on the Afia Business Morning, is the Southeast ready to be an aviation hub? We'll be talking to the chairman, CEO, United Nigeria Airlines, and you don't want to miss that. Afia Business Morning, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afia Business Morning, and now it's time to hone in on the business environment in the Eastern region. And today we're taking a special report from Owerri and talking about the viability issues and opportunities in the aviation sector in the region with the Chairman CEO United Nigeria Airlines, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, and I assure you, you want to be here for that one. I'm Nnamdi Obaya, and this is the Eastern Business Report. This is the Eastern Business Report, where we look at the business ecosystem in the Eastern region. And today, we'll be talking about the viability and opportunities in the aviation industry in the region. But first, some regional news beginning in Ebonyi, where hundreds of air travelers from different parts of the southern region of the country have descended on the Chuba Okadigbo International Airport, Onueke, to airlift to Lagos, with commercial flight operations fully starting as United Nigeria Airlines from Lagos was seen landing safely at the airport without any hitches. Many passengers were seen moving out their luggage, while those boarding United Nigeria Airlines back to Lagos were seen on a queue. The Commissioner for Aviation and Transport Technology, Mrs. Ngozi Obichukwu, said that there is no going back on the commercial flight operations at the Chuba Okadigbo International Airport in Onueke, Ezza South Local Government Area. Moving on to Bayelsa, and the Bayelsa Electricity Company Limited says it has made significant progress on the 60 megawatts power plant project located at Elebele community in Ogbia Local Government Area. This was disclosed yesterday by engineer Steve Bubara, Director of Operations, BEC, while conducting newsmen on a tour of the project site at Elebele, where he also said that the project is progressing at an exceptional rate with approximately 70% of work completed, adding further that with the pace of completed before deadline. He noted that Governor Duoyediri of Bayelsa has reiterated that power supply is expected to commence on or before end of the year. And straight we hear that the Minister of Works, Engineer David Umahi, has ordered the termination of the contract with Levance Construction Limited for the reconstruction of the Benin Sapele Wari Road, executed under the Road Infrastructure Development and Refurbishment Investment Tax Credit Scheme due to non-performance. Speaking after a meeting with chief executives of GELD Construction Limited and SKEEC Nigeria Limited over delays in the action of the Benin Sapele Wari Road project, Umahi expressed disapproval to meet expectations. He directed the permanent secretary to get the job properly terminated, write them a letter for joint measurement, and also write to their bank to request repayment of the APG, failing which the matter would be taken to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He went on to commend the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Obowewori, and Edo State counterparts Bondi Okwebulo for their interventions on some kilometers of the road project. And finally, from Akwa Ibom, where we learned that the Akwa Ibom State Commissioner for Sports, Elder Paul Bassi, has announced the immediate dissolution of the management teams of the 4 state-owned football clubs following the conclusion of the 2024-2025 Nigerian Football League season. Elder Bassi made the announcement during a meeting held in Uyo with representatives of the affected clubs, which are Akwa United, Dakada FC, Ibom Angels FC, and Ibom Youth FC, which are all fully funded by the Akwa Ibom State government. He further added that the decision is in line with the state's broader plan to reposition sports and elevate performance levels across all sporting fronts, and directed the chairman and secretaries of each club to submit their handover notes to the Ministry of Sports within 2 weeks. He expressed appreciation to the outgoing officials for their service and contributions to the growth of football in the state, wishing them well in their future endeavors. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be taking special reports from Owerri and Enugu, where we'll be talking about the capacity building for the very young ones, and we'll also be looking at the viability, issues and opportunity in the aviation sector in the region with the Chairman CEO, United Nigeria Airlines, Professor Obiora Okonkwo. You don't want to miss that. The Eastern Business Report returns shortly. Sorry, till this Eastern Business Report on the Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obaya, and today we'll be joined by the Chairman, CEO, United Nigeria Airlines, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, to properly delve into the possibilities for the aviation industry in the region. But first, a special report from Enugu on capacity building of the young ones. Now, Enugu has secured the Spencer Foundation Vision Grant to support research planning for scaling of experiential learning in the 260 smart schools across the state. In furtherance of this, the Spencer Foundation Vision Grant Action Research Team in Enugu held a workshop to enable researchers being trained to study the impact of the experiential learning curriculum in the state. The meeting was led by the Enugu State Commissioner for Education, Professor Undubweze Umba, and Afia's Oluwatomi Olatayo has more on this.
The Spencer Foundation Vision Grant, a prestigious research grant in the education sector, has been secured by the Enugu State Ministry of Education alongside the SSPA to the Enugu State Governor on experiential learning, Dr. Mara Huber, and partners at the State University of New York to further experiential learning in the Enugu Smart Grading Schools. The Spencer Foundation Vision Grant Research Team on Tuesday organized a workshop at the Old Government Lodge to train educators for research aimed at ascertaining the impact of experiential learning on teachers and members of the community. The outcome of the research will help in scaling up the experiential learning curriculum for the 260 smart grading schools.
The Spencer Foundation Vision Grant is one of the most prestigious education sector grants in the world. Out of a global competition, about 10 to 12 global teams were selected, and Enugu State happened to be one of those teams. Based on the grant application that I submitted in collaboration with the Senior Special Advisor to the Governor on Experiential Learning, Dr. Mara Huber of the State University of New York at Buffalo. So the planning grants supports research on the early gains of experiential learning for students, for teachers, for communities, and for education system transformation. This planning grant then positions us and pre-qualifies us to apply for a multi-million-dollar system transformation grant to now support the successful scaling of the Enugu experiential learning curriculum from one pilot smart grading school across the 260 smart grading schools.
The Senior Special Advisor to the Governor of Enugu State on Experiential Learning and Education, Dr. Mara Huber, explained that the Spencer Foundation is supporting the project through the Spencer Education Vision Grant, a transformative grant awarded specifically for education research.
We are here actually to conduct research that is being sponsored by the Spencer Foundation through a vision grant, which is a very competitive, prestigious grant that supports transformative research around education, and that is exactly what we're looking at with the Enugu Smart School model. Very exciting. First part of our visit, we're actually here for 2 weeks conducting research, but what you're seeing today is actually the first stage, which is training the Enugu research team. So we have a number of educators, leaders, stakeholders who have been invited by the Commissioner of Education to actually contribute and help lead this research. And so the first step is to train them on participatory, community-based participatory action research to really that in the upcoming days we can meet with various stakeholders and engage in research.
Speaking with Dr. Kathleen Moriela, she noted that the Spencer Grant is intended to enable community-based participatory action research, and to monitor the impact of the Smart School initiative.
We are working on a Spencer grant to do community-based participatory action research to look at the impacts of the Smart Green School initiative, and we are working with a great team of educator researchers here, and we're very excited to be working with everyone. We did some interactive exercises, and we're training our educator researchers to work in the community to better understand how everything is going in the green schools.
This research is an amazing opportunity that is going to change a lot of things in our teaching and learning sector. Today's education has shifted from rote memorization to creativity, critical thinking, and problem-solving approach. And over the years, the teachers, the way they teach, methodology for communication is not giving us the effective answer and solution. But experiential learning is indeed a groundbreaking approach that supports what the vision of Enugu State Smart Green School initiative.
It's a tremendous change. I know it's a shocker to so many people, but I want to believe that it's a time that Enugu State is remembered by the type of governor we have in place, His Excellency, the Barrister Peter Ndubisimba. Before now, we had our teachers' professional development education and training was zero. What we used to have before now is an interventional training where we have over 10,000 teachers, and when we need to train, you see the resources will be available to train only 1,000 or 1,500. But with the innovation now, the governor is ensuring training for everybody. The research we're having, the training here is to train educators, stakeholders as educator researchers. And the purpose is to ascertain the impact of the experiential learning curriculum that we have in place in Enugu State.
We're here for a workshop to learn more about it, especially in my department. So what we usually have is the traditional academic outcomes in the curriculum. Now I would like if this experiential learning is translated instead of the traditional academic outcomes, then it becomes now an entrepreneurial outcome.
Afia TV also spoke with some teachers from the smart schools who are members of the research team.
The teacher, you don't need to stress yourself to ask the student, what did you learn the previous day? Because they're actually learning and doing what they are learning. Okay, I will use my subject as an instance. Since I teach programming and robotics, is not content memorization. We do it practical. The students are exposed to writing codes on the system. So they write these codes themselves. They build circuits, they build robots, they do power banks. We also have a new innovation in our lab, which is a traffic light system. Whenever I come to school, you see the students will be like, teacher, please come and teach us, because they want to see the outcome of what they're actually doing.
Wow, it has been a beautiful moment as a smart teacher. Initially, I was teaching in a local school, public school anyway, for more than 7 years now. The difference is very clear because we use digital tools to teach. My exposure is something amazing, unlike when I was an analog teacher. We now use digital tools like smartboard, computers, tablets. We can relate things in the classroom in form of real-life experiences to the students. And it is more of experiential learning because it's a hands-on activity in the classroom.
The duration of the research program is 2 weeks, with expectations to yield desirable results through cultivating a dynamic and equitable experiential learning ecosystem in Africa through collective storytelling. Oluwatomi Olatayo reporting for Afia TV.
Thank you for that report, Tommy. Of course, the future of business in the region is definitely in development and capacity building and all that good stuff. All right, we'll take another report from Owerri in Imo State on traders reacting to the relocation from Douglas Road, in a bid to restore order and improve commercial infrastructure in the state capital, the Imo State government has begun relocating street traders from the ever-busy Douglas Road and the Kenua area following the commissioning of modern facilities at the historic Ugumabiri and the Kenua markets. Our correspondent John Kennedy Ogbonna visited the affected traders to gauge their thoughts and concerns on this development and now reports.
Trading has been a hallmark of commercial activity in Owerri, especially along Douglas Road. The area, particularly near the Ekonua market, is a dense cluster of roadside stalls, wheelbarrow traders and mobile vendors selling everything from foodstuffs and clothes to electronics and cosmetics. However, the situation has brought its share of challenges: traffic congestion, poor sanitation, obstruction of pedestrian walkways, and general disorderliness. The state government has begun taking steps to end street trading along major roads in Owerri, especially along the congested Douglas Road and Ekonua market axis. The move follows the commissioning of a newly upgraded market facility at the historic Ukumbari and Ekonua market, which is aimed at relocating roadside traders into a more organized and modern commercial environment. However, the directive to vacate the roads has sparked mixed reactions among street traders operating along Douglas Road and Ekonua area.
Although shop government and about make just energy normal politician, but the truth about it is that shop was on in a higher range. 1 million again with a shop of millions of naira. Only was on a road 20,000 or 30,000. So any shop na say whatever under collateral, we will not make it up. Government could say my hard game right because things are very hard and need to cause now. They say my hard game right because we are suffering together with the hand and track on and I'm trying for week to week. We have families. I need to get so how many hard game make a drawing with the traders, the pharmacies, how many call the crying mother.
Despite the concerns, some traders are cautiously optimistic and welcome the idea, provided it is properly implemented.
Government is always go take also trying on the road. I want to even capital. I can be a church. So because of what you said, I am managing the road ever. I didn't want to even work at the so, but the government say what tell do here. Always pay them money. So, all the okay, all the money.
While the government's effort to modernize market infrastructure in Owerri is commendable, successful implementation hinges on inclusive dialogue, transparency, and adequate support for street traders, many of whom operate at the margins of the economy. In Owerri, John Kennedy Ogbonna reporting for Afia TV.
Thank you for that report, John Kennedy. Hopefully the situation gets sorted out for the best interest of all concerned parties. We'll go on another break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the Chairman, CEO, United Nigeria Airlines, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, to properly delve into the issues and opportunities in the aviation industry in the region. The Eastern Business Report returns shortly.
Afia, we stand for business, culture, lifestyle, and entertainment.
We also bring you news and discussions around current affairs in the eastern part of Nigeria.
This is Afia, where it's yours.
The show is still the Eastern Business Report on the Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obaya. Now, the Southeast and South-South are, well, logistics and commercial hubs and very important ones in the country. And with bad roads and non-existent rail, air travel has become the most reliable means of transport, even though it is the most expensive. But now the question is the region viable enough for an industry that is very capital intensive? Is there a market? Is there infrastructure? And is there a growth path for the industry in the region? To discuss this with us is the Chairman, CEO, United Nigeria Airlines, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, and he'll be joining us immediately after this short break. Don't go anywhere. It's the Eastern Business Report on Afia TV.
I'm glad to be here with you. Thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you. Very happy to do that. Let me start from here by congratulating you. United have been the first airline to flag off recommencement of travel at the Chuba Okadigbo Airport in Ebonyi. The first flight from Ebonyi to Lagos has happened. So congratulations on that, on being the, I don't know if I can call it inaugural flight, but well, at least for the recommencement of flights in a Boeing. I guess it is the inaugural flight. So congratulations on that.
Yes, it is actually a trial flight because Bonn Port is not fully certified for commercial operations. But it might also interest you to know that United Nigeria is the only airline that go to Bayelsa as of today. We opened the airport and we continue to fly to Bayelsa on commercial flight. So we're here to unite people, no matter how remote their locations and their ports are with the rest of the world.
I think that's a good anchor on which to bring in my first question. Because in the Southeast and South-South, people always talk about, the supply side of business. But does the region, in your opinion, have a strong enough or a projected strong enough demand? Are there enough people who are willing and able enough to take advantage, enough people and businesses to take advantage of aviation in the region?
Surely there is. There is a very viable market for aviation in that area. And mind you, the viability of it and the people is not only those who are resident there. It also depends on the kind of activities that are going on there that will attract people. If you look at so many parts of the world, Dubai, for instance, what is the population of the indigenous of UAE? It's not that huge. But if you look at the traffic of passengers that move in and out of there on a regular basis, either for business or for tourism, it is way far beyond the population. So sometimes we do not rate this viability based on the population of the resident in that city, in that area, or in that region. So it's a matter of what are the economic activities. So for Southeast, for South-South, if you look at the economic potentials there, it's huge. If it can only be harnessed and properly optimized, surely it will be a good destination.
So individuals aside now, with regards to businesses in the region, whether it's logistics, whether it's human, how would you rate the business engagement with the industry, with the aviation industry? That is businesses now, not even individuals. Are there enough businesses? And do you see, like you said, depending on activities, which will mainly be business and governmental, that will attract traffic, whether it's commerce, tourism, but will you say that the businesses right now are properly engaging, even if it's just for strategic planning? Is there any sort of engagement with businesses in the region?
Southeast, for instance, has really been properly disadvantaged in terms of traffic with the insecurity situation. They sit at home on Mondays that has become endemic. It is not helping matters. We actually have low traffic going on in every set of Southeast on Mondays. In fact, in most cases, we don't even fly because the traffic is very low, and then the risk of some of the passengers do not encourage them to come to the airport. So it is not good on itself. And not only Monday, the fear and the concern is not in any way helping in other days. However, if you look at what's going on in Owerri now, Owerri has actually gradually, in the recent time, gained a reputation for destination towards weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you notice huge traffic to Owerri, in and out, to Owerri, and then on Monday out. So Owerri is doing very well. I think they kind of got some security station in Owerri under control, and people are accepting that as a place to go. So that means you see those people on tourism and entertainment, which is very good. You got to start from somewhere. Enugu, for instance, is working hard on getting Enugu to be seen in the new age as a destination for events and conferences. I am aware that next week there will be a conference of Guild of Editors.
Yes.
That will bring in not less than 1,000 people into the city. And then subsequently, sometime in the month of August, it should be attracting over 12 to 15,000 people coming for MBA conference.
Yes.
I think that is very, very intentional, the way government is going about that to attract traffic in and out. So sometimes this traffic could be conference, there could be tourism, there could be properly just simply recreation if the facilities are there. So if they want to continue on that trend, it will not only be air travel, they need to also improve on the number of the hotels and all that to be able to optimize the advantage. So some other, but I'm looking at other states. Anambra is not particularly helping itself in this area. Though you have an airport in Anambra, it might surprise you to know that it's the lowest traffic airport, unless in Anambra, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of business activities going on there because of the concern for insecurity, and the government don't seem to realize that some of these things have to be dealt with, intentionally. And, Anambra being a destination more or less when all the businesses fail for social activities, whether it's burial, whether it's wedding, or whether it's traditional marriage, that could also count. But when people, due to fear of their lives, now do their marriages outside Anambra, and even some people bury their dead secretly in Anambra and cross over to Enugu to do entertainment, surely stuff like that will affect traffic. So it's not good, not only for the traffic, but for the economy of the state, because all these things, they add up from the spendings that people make, and patronize businesses that are there and give them resources and revenue to increase the amount of tax they pay to the government. So it becomes a win-win situation. Where that is affected, then every other person in that chain suffer the loss.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up something now, which, and I also add that to the fact that you fly into Bielsa, and this raises the issue I want to talk about of the issues with the airports. The landing systems, whether visual equipment, many of our airports, how many of them can you land beyond 6 p.m.? And could the Anambra traffic also be due to the fact that a lot of people land in Asaba? Because a lot of people who do business in Anambra have now moved to Asaba. And so perhaps it's better for them to land in Asaba than in Anambra. And just to add into that, what are the issues that you really face with regards to costs, equipment with the different airports, and what needs to be done to even assist the airlines to even boost businesses? Because we're aware that airports are always in one state of renovation or the other. I mean, we're looking at Chuba Kadigbo still coming to completion. We're looking at Enugu still trying to get the international wing opened. So what are the issues with these airports, and how does that affect the business?
We've said over and over again that one of the problems we do face in our operations in Nigeria, and that's a major cause of delay and disruption, is what we call sunset and sunrise airport. That means in most of the airports, you can't take off before 6:30 in the morning, and you can land after 6:30 p.m. So for that reason, we are choked to do our schedule for just 12 hours. And there is a minimum number of flights you should make with an aircraft to be able to break even, to meet all the financial obligations towards sustaining and operating that aircraft. And that is about between 6 to 8. So for this reason, considering that it needs some amount of time for turnaround, which should be between 45 minutes to 1 hour. So if you schedule these 6 flights, maybe from Anambra to Abuja, Abuja to Lagos, and so on and so forth, you are left with about no space. So if there is any simple thing that is normal, you have to wait for whether for the next 1 hour or there is congestion at the checking point, you're already running behind schedule. And the airlines are blamed for that. So we think that some of these airports actually have these facilities for night flight, but the airport managers, if they are government or like farm, because of low traffic into those airports, they think that it's too expensive to keep staff and then running generator, putting lights when there are not many flights, maybe for 1 or 2 flights. So for that reason, they just shut it off. But to some others, they don't just have these adequate facilities. In Anambra Airport, for instance, for over 2 years, the airport was built with landing lights, but it was kind of vandalized for over 2 years now. The state government has not done anything about it, which is very, very unfortunate and pathetic. For that reason, for us, we are the only LPs and United Nigeria Land is the only operator going to Anambra. It gives a lot of pressure, especially during the Christmas period. If there is weather situation in Anambra and or any other state where you have to go before going to Anambra and you see yourself going above 6:30, there's always a lot of tension and pressure put on the side of the operators. Ordinarily, what it would do is to cancel the flight. But understanding the significance of that season, how many people are coming from overseas and rushing to get home, when they offer the passengers to take them to Asaba, it's usually a big problem because at that point, you would have been getting into evening. And the dread crossing the Niger, the head bridge, either because of traffic and then going into the state in the night because of security, it's a big problem. But by and large, with improved airport facility, I think that the operators would be able to operate into midnight. And when we're able to operate into midnight, we should spread our turnaround time 2 hours. And within these 2 hours, some of the unexpected in operation, which is inevitable in Nigeria, can be accommodated. And that in itself will reduce delays and disruption automatically with 90%, except the other 10% will only be when you have AOG or other force majeure that will take a longer time. But for passengers in our Asaba is its own economy. Asaba actually is the fastest growing state economically in Nigeria. They have enough economy, enough economic activities and the residents that travel in and out of Onitsha, not necessarily those who were supposed to go to Anambra. So for Anambra, I want to believe that if security will be put in place and no confidence of the people will be renewed, and people are able to come back to carry out their social activities like burying their deaths, do their marriage and wedding, take their chieftaincy titles, it will actually increase the traffic. But what is more sustainable is a deliberate and intentional government policy to increase economic activities. I think that one itself, for what Onitsha was known for. Imagine if you were to be in the time of the old, when you had people from all parts of Africa coming into Onitsha, Nnewi, and all those places for one business or the other. When there was no airport, they landed in Lagos and come by luxurious buses. And these people were either waylaid or kidnapped or shot dead. And for that reason, they stopped coming. And the businesses they come to patronize those days in Anambra now moved to Lagos. To meet them in Lagos, that's one of the reasons why some of the industrialists and businesses moved to Lagos. So for that reason, that surely would have been a great viable period for us if everything were to be normal and that those activities continue.
I mean, but now, if for instance now, like you said, Asaba is growing, Enugu is deliberately growing, Owerri seems to be bringing back the party feel towards the weekend. We're also seeing Afia trying to push up. If these economies get bigger, and let me just segue a bit, because recently I saw the news, you're taking on a very, very, well, not Herculean, but very bold step, getting on thousands of agents worldwide, connecting to the GDS. So that means that now anybody can book from anywhere, which means you're guaranteeing that you can make many tickets available at once. As you're taking this kind of step, and I'd like you to just tell us a bit more about the GDS, and as you're taking this step, do you feel that the authorities are making reciprocal steps with regards to policy and improvement of facilities at the airport to meet the steps that you as an airline are taking?
Well, we don't necessarily need to wait to synchronize with the government. They're independent. We are charting our own course and running our own rates. With GDS, which simply means a global distribution system, it allows people from all over the world to book into your system, you know, and in America, worldwide, London, wherever they are. That's one of the advantages. And pay actually in their currency, so we could earn foreign exchange. It allows you easier relationship for interline. For instance, there are flag carriers that are coming into Nigeria. You want to go into partnership with to move passengers from Enugu to Lagos or to Abuja for them to pick for their further destination internationally. That qualifies you for that. And we're the third Nigerian operator today that has GDS. So that is for us. That is within our own business development initiative. I'm glad we've been able to achieve it because it takes a long process and a whole lot of requirements for that to happen. So we're doing that for ourselves. We expect the government to understand that airport infrastructure is very critical for the smoothness of operation in aviation here in Nigeria. But we don't have to wait for them to do that. We have to be moving forward, and we hope we should be an inspiration for them to respond accordingly. But we're operating under a very, very, very difficult environment in some cases. But we hope that the ongoing efforts by the government, especially the team led by the current Minister of Aviation, will yield the positive result that we're expecting timely.
So before I let you go, sir, I have to ask you this very important question. Recently, the National Aviation College complained about the very, very low turnout of candidates from particularly the Southeast to getting getting careers in aviation. It seemed as if the region is just not interested. Is there an issue with getting capacity, whether it's pilots, ground crew, technical staff, engineers? Is there an issue with capacity in the region? Maybe even as a whole, generally in Nigeria, but do you have capacity issues getting people to fill roles and be qualified for them from the region?
And surely, recall that before now, the only airport we have in the region was Enugu Airport. And because there were no airlines that had their base in Enugu, a whole lot of aviation activities were not going on. So that did not attract a whole lot of people. And to create the consciousness and awareness that they can make a career in aviation. But however, gradually changing. 90 to 95% of staff we have on ground in our in our Southeast regions. We are freshers. We recruited them, we trained them, and continue to follow them up with their refresher course. But with new airlines coming up in that area, I have no doubt that the number will increase. But I don't have the statistics or the ratio of recruitment in aviation school. But it should not be strange to agree that Lagos being the main hub for aviation, most people who are around there would be able to have more population. And then aviation school being in Kaduna, Northerners obviously will be able to patronize that more. It's interesting to note that when we started, there were fewer airlines in operation then. And for the type of aircraft we use, there were really no specialists in that area. That is ERJ-145, which we introduced. So 70 to 80% of people we started with, we make the investment in their training and development. And we are proud to say that we introduced that ERJ-145 as a major equipment for commercial operation in Nigeria. And immediately after us, all the other new airlines that are coming on board are starting with 145. But that wasn't the case. So 70 to 80% of those in that field, they passed through a United Nigeria Training School. We're very proud to say that. And we invest a lot in development. That's part of our contribution to the aviation sector in Nigeria and the development. So we think that with time, with these new airports coming up, with more airlines flying to those destinations, there will be more of people in the Southeast joining the aviation industry.
And we look forward to that. Thank you so much for making our time to be here with us today. I mean, shedding light on a lot of things, including the fact that, maybe perhaps you might also want to maybe think of maybe branching out and having maybe a private aviation school. I mean, you're already doing it within the airline. This might create more interest, among young people here. If there is somewhere, will I say, close to home, that they could come out and train, learn more about the industry. But thank you so much for being here this morning. We do have time, and we do hope that the authorities can take note of the issues that will grow the industry here in the region. Thank you so much, Professor Okonkwo, Chairman, CEO of Airlines. We do appreciate you for being here this morning.
Thank you for Afia TV station for what they're doing for United Nigeria and the industry. But before I go, it's important for you to know that in terms of training and for the young people, we have a MOU with UNIZIK, Namdazikwe University, and we train a whole lot of students in their mechanical engineering. As we speak now, they come there in our own maintenance department for internship and youth service. And interestingly, there's no one who had passed through our own training department for their internship that had come out eventually with less than 2-1, second class upper in their final qualification. And we have even more of them in the higher categories of first class. So it is something that is really paying very well, and we are very happy to do that. And our team are working on extending that to other universities, probably increasing the number of those who are coming from UNIZIK. That's what we're doing for now. And I think we had thought we should set up a good base in Enugu State, but it doesn't seem that we're having the necessary cooperation and understanding with the state government. Unfortunately, that is slowing us down. But if we had done that, there's no doubt that it was part of our program to include the training and the exposure to people from that region to aviation. But we wait and see. God's time is the best.
Thank you so much. God Sabi is the best. Now we look forward to that training school here in Enugu and in more places. Maybe even Asaba, which will be closer to home for me. But thank you so much for being here this morning.
That's all right. Now I know where you're from.
I'm from Ibuzo. I'm from Ibuzo, which is actually where the Asaba airport is. So we are actually the hosts of the Asaba airport.
I got the message.
Thank you so much for being here this morning, sir.
Have a good day. Thank you.
And that was Professor Obiora Okonkwo, Chairman CEO United Nigeria, talking to us about the viability, possibility, prospects, issues, and of course the future of the aviation industry in the region. And that's all we can take on the Eastern Business Report. But the Afia Business Morning is not yet over. If Unaya Ondule, the market Pekin, is waiting to take you into the market. How market comes up right after this. So stay tuned, channel 254 on DSTV 17, Go TV, and of course 748 on Free TV. Till I see you at 10 a.m. tomorrow for another edition of the Afia Business Morning. I am Nnamdi Obaya saying have a profitable business day.